Hey everybody, welcome back to We Are Podcast Network. This is We Are Bagu Season 1, Episode 11, Dead by Daylight, featuring Ian Mullins. Me and Ethan, we're going to sit down with our friend Ian and discuss Dead by Daylight. I've never played it before, so hopefully the guys can sell me on this game. If this is your first time checking out the podcast, please head over to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, or iTunes, and give We Are Podcast a like. And if you have a chance, check out our social media. All links can be found in the description. With that said, on to the podcast. Hey everyone, it's just Duck jumping in here again real quick. Me and Ethan, we just want to say to our guest Ian Mullins today, congratulations on you and your wife Taylor's wedding.
So we recorded this a few weeks before the actual wedding happened. Since it's releasing now about a week after they got married, we just kind of wanted to jump in here and say congratulations, you guys. This really was a match made in heaven, and it's about damn time.
Well, we're so happy for you. Congratulations from the bottom of our hearts here at We Are Bagu and the We Are Podcast Network.
Yeah, I love you guys.
On to the Bagu.
The Bagu!
We Are Bagu.
Hey everybody, welcome to We Are Bagu, a video game podcast. We talk Atari to Steam and everything between. This is Duck, and I'm here with...
Dr. E!
Ooh, Dr. Ethan Eastwood. And today we have a very special guest, Mr. Ian Mullins. Ian, thank you for coming to the show.
Yes.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So today we are going to talk about something I know absolutely nothing about. I don't even remember the name of the game at this point. So these guys are going to do a lot of the heavy lifting, but I am intrigued. They're going to try to sell this game to me. And I guess Ian is the master. And what is this game we're going to talk about?
Dead by Daylight.
Dead by Daylight.
I'm going to let Ethan go over the talking points, and I'll just kind of chime in whenever I think that he's wrong.
All right. Well, that's going to, hopefully, I hope that's a lot.
Wrong.
Yeah. Ethan, you're wrong. Number one. Okay, get it together. So Dead by Daylight. The only thing I know about this game is it has something to do with horror movie characters at some point or other.
Yes.
And you and Will have talked about it previously on the podcast, and you sold me, kind of. Still haven't played it, but you guys, by the end of this, hopefully I'm going to be downloading it, and I'll be joining a game with you guys. So Ian, what is Dead by Daylight?
So by definition, Dead by Daylight is what's called an asymmetric survival horror game. What that pretty much boils down to is you're going to have 4 people who are your survivors. They're your stereotypical horror movie good guys. They're trying to escape the grasp of whatever evil killer you're up against. And then you have another player that actually gets to play this evil monster or person or creature and tries to hunt them down in a randomly generated world. Okay, the object of the game is the survivors have to repair 5 generators and escape. The killer has to sacrifice them all to the evil god, the entity, before they can escape.
Okay, so is this like Prey? Is this like Friday the 13th, the video game? Is it like that?
So kind of like Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th is a Walmart knockoff of this. I think
Absolutely.
Some people have different interpretations of that, but I think that Friday the 13th, their only hype up was whenever they were free on PS4, and it was big for about 2 weeks, and then it tanked again.
So which came first, the Dead by Daylight or the Friday the 13th? Which was first on this?
Let me see here. If I'm not mistaken, Dead by Daylight came out on PC first, June of 2016. Friday the 13th came out about a year later, 11 months, so end of May 2017.
So do you think that was enough time, or do you think both were in production? Because Friday the 13th began as not even a licensed game. It began as like camp slasher game or something like that, where eventually they went to the rights holder of Friday the 13th and got the rights and took the game they were making, which was heavily influenced by Friday the 13th.
It was Friday the 13th without being Friday the 13th.
It was 100%. But why, Ian, does this game do that game so much better? Because I know there are a couple other games that kind of fall in the realm of this. Like I said, Prey definitely is a version of this. I don't know if you guys ever played that PS3 game. I think it was PS3, maybe PS4. But why is this one so much better?
So I think for me, whenever I'm playing a game, especially an online game, I don't like it to drag out super long. And that's what I like about Dead by Daylight. Dead by Daylight, you can get in, you can play a game in 10 minutes or so and be done. But with Friday the 13th, whenever I tried playing it, I'm not going to act like I went on Friday the 13th and played the game.
I think we maybe did like 2 or 3 matches of it, and they lasted like half an hour to 45 minutes, or at least it felt like that. It was just not, it wasn't as fun, but we were kind of spoiled by Dead by at that point.
And the objectives were so confusing for us newcomers. And we were also playing with all the other people who got the game for free. So everyone was confused. Like there was something we had to gas up a car or something. We had to find parts. And it was just something that we didn't understand. And if I remember correctly, on Friday the 13th, you can't select to play a killer or survivor. You just get thrown into a game and it's randomly picked. So like my very first game, whenever I got on there, I was a killer, and I don't know what the hell I was doing. It was just so ass backwards compared to what I was used to with Dead by Daylight.
So you were saying that Friday the 13th kind of, you didn't know what the objectives were, and the gameplay was just way too long. You're saying comparatively Dead by Daylight doesn't have the long-form gameplay, and it doesn't have...
Well,
so
typically.
For the most part, the longest game I've played, it might be 20 minutes or so. The objectives... Like Ethan was saying at the beginning, the objectives are very simple. You complete 5 generators and you escape. And in between that, there is a lot of, it sounds really simple, but in between that, there is a whole lot of chasing around.
Yeah, let's start from the beginning. How does the game work exactly? What does it look like? Explain it to me from the very beginning of what we're going with, because I've never seen this. So if I'm loading up, what options does it give me? How do I get into the game? What kind of world does it drop me into?
It really kind of boils down to 2 main options. Is do you want to play Survivor and, put your money where your mouth is? Like, I could escape that killer, no problem. Or maybe you want to tap into your sinister side and fuck up some people. Really, it kind of just comes down to, do you want to kill some people or do you want to be killed?
Cool. So what do you guys primarily choose usually? Do you want to play as a team or do you want to be the killer?
So that really depends on, like, if I have another friend of mine, say Ethan, or another person we play with, Brennan, then I'll do Survivor because you can't play with a friend on killer because there's only one killer.
So you have to be the lone player in that situation.
Yes.
Right.
That's cool. Whenever we get into the game, without any of the expansions, we'll get into that later. What does the killer look like, act like in this game? Let's say I want to get Murderlicious right now. How does that work? What does my character look like? Do I have choices?
So there's a whole bunch of different choices. Like the very first killer that came to Dead by Daylight, his name was the Trapper. He's just a really big guy and he sits on bear traps and and that was the beginning of Dead by Daylight. He's who's on the cover. That's just what started out. And
it's
then
scary too, dude. Like,
oh, yeah.
You're just running around as a survivor. You're being all stealthy. Hop over a window, and suddenly your fucking leg's caught in a bear trap, and you scream, and he knows immediately where you are.
Yeah, it sends off a notification if you're a killer. It sends off a notification where that trap was. And these maps aren't entirely too big, so like you can traverse a map in 30 seconds easily as a killer.
Oh, nice. So it's small arenas, very small.
Right. So like Ethan has said, 1 killer, 4 survivors, and 4 survivors in that small of an area. It's really not that hard, but that's where the mental games come in is, do you want to play it stealthy? Do you want to try to send one person to try to have the killer chase them around? And that's a whole nother
There's
game.
A lot of strategy to it because you have to have people that are always working on generators, but then you have, things that are unexpected. You have survivors that get caught and get hooked and are starting to be sacrificed away.
Beautiful.
They will be taken out of the game.
Let's talk about that real quick. The killer, Murderlicious. How does he murder? What does it look like in the game? Is it customizable? What's the story? Duck wants to kill.
Well, every killer has, 3 items that you can customize, Ian? Isn't it?
What do you mean?
So, like, whatever killer you're playing, you can deck out, I think it's their helmet, their outfit, and then their weapon, as well as you can give them a loadout of 4 different perks as you level up each killer. And it affects the game in a variety of small ways and whatnot that can give you advantage, fuck the survivors up, things like that. But every killer boils down to they'll have 2 main abilities, a basic attack, and then some power that is unique only to them. Trappers would be the bear trap. Wraith would be he can turn invisible, and so on and so forth.
When you kill people, you said something about the hooks, the bear traps. Are these? What else? What else?
So,
what are the tools of my murder? Yeah.
So survivors have 3 states. They have healthy, injured, and then dying, where they're on the ground. Injured, the survivors make noises like whimpers of pain, and they're bleeding, and they leave a trail of blood that lasts for maybe 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Yeah, you can follow them through their trail of blood. There's things that make it easier to see that and track them down, or this
right. Like Ethan was saying, killers have 4 perks. One of the perks that you could have is called Bloodhound, where it makes this blood like just really bright and easy to see. But whenever a survivor's healthy, they don't make any noises like while just running, and they also don't leave any blood. So that's the difference between injured and healthy. And then whenever they're down, what happens is a killer then picks a survivor up and they put them on hooks. And on the hooks, you have two different phases. You have first phase that a survivor just gets put on a hook and they're just hanging there. And then whenever another survivor can come and unhook you, and then if you get downed again and you need to get put on the hook again, you go into a struggling phase where the entity is basically trying to entrap you.
Ooh. It's like trying to stab you while you're already hanging on this fucking meat hook.
I love it already because this is total Texas Chainsaw Massacre. 100% the hooks. You know what I mean? Like, that is a classic horror trope that is absolutely terrifying. Oh, God. And just as you're saying it, I feel the hooks in my back. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I can't even imagine.
Dude. As soon as a survivor gets put up on the hook, their scream of pain just rings throughout the arena, and it's horrible.
Oh, that's nasty. So okay, so if you're on the hooks and you don't get off, you don't survive, game over, or till the end of the round?
That person is taken out of the game. Or you can consider that 1 point for the killer, 3 to go.
Right on.
And what happens is the entity sucks them into the realm, I guess you would call it.
I don't know, man. He pretty much like devours their soul. It's gruesome as fuck.
Ooh.
It's awesome.
So let's go to the survivors and how that game works. You begin with 4, and you keep saying about the generators. What is that like when you're dropped into this world as a survivor?
A lot of the survivor gameplay boils down to what's called skill checks. It's a classic gaming trope. You know, something will come up on the screen. You got to hit a certain button at a certain time for it to be successful. Dead by Daylight's version of this is a little ring will pop up and it'll say hit spacebar in this little area, and then there's a little spot where you can do a little better than normal. You know, you get a little boost to your progress there, but you and the other survivors can work together to make generator repairs go faster, but it's noisy as fuck. You got the risk of the killer hearing you all working on that, and it's a whole game of attrition of who can last longer in the game. Can the survivors build up the generators enough to open the exits, or is the killer just going to start knocking them out and taking them out one by one, and generator progress slows to a crawl?
Very important. You just hit an important thing there. So you have to open the doors. What are these landscapes, arenas like? Is it you're stuck in a building Saw style? Is that what it is?
Actually, funny you say Saw. There is actually a map on there. It's called The Game, and it is the Gideon meatpacking plant from the movie Saw.
Yeah, dude.
And there's 2 floors, and there are, how many interior maps are there? There's 3 interior maps that are inside.
The
and
lab,
the rest of the maps
game,
are outside.
I can't remember what the other one is.
The Larry's Memorial Institute, it's a psych ward. The lab, which is from Stranger Things, and then getting a meatpacking plant.
Very cool. What was the first one? The hospital? You said psych
ward? It's a psych ward.
And is it based on anything? Is it Nightmare on Elm Street 3, or is it anything like that?
No, so that was actually one of Behavior's original characters, and he's called the Doctor. And his power up, like Ethan was saying, how every killer has a power up. His power up is he shocks people. He basically sends out a shockwave, and they scream, and then survivors go into like an insanity mode where it makes things harder to do. You start seeing illusions of the Doctor. Your skill checks become more difficult and will pop up on the entire screen.
That's wild. So you're playing in these awesome stages, 2 which are actually based on horror franchises. I guess Stranger Things kind of a horror franchise. I guess you can put that in there.
I would argue that Stranger Things is a horror franchise, and I've only watched 1 episode of that fucking series.
Bro.
Now, hold on. Playing this game, the Demogorgon is one of the killers you can play as, and that is probably the most terrifying killer in this game, at least in my opinion, because you can hear him throughout the entire fucking map. He will appear out of nowhere, he will lunge at you and hit you real quick, and it just, it's awesome. Sinister sense.
So you're building up generators. You're working as a team. Are there other options for gameplay to get out of these arenas?
Oh shit! Yeah, the hatch.
So there's something called a hatch. So the hatch only spawns. Ethan, help me explain this because I always get tripped up on this. I know how to think it, but I don't know how to say it. So the hatch only spawns if there is 1 less generator than there is amount of survivors. So say there are 4 survivors. All 5 generators need to be done before this hatch spawns. Let's say there are 3 survivors. Only 1 generator needs to be left before this hatch spawns, and so on and so forth. Except if you are the last survivor, then the hatch spawns and it opens up. Now, whenever
basically a bonus way for you to escape. Like, if you weren't able to get the generators done, this is your last-ditch effort. Although the killer has a way to combat that now, too.
But there's a catch there, because the hatch only opens if you are the last survivor. Or if you have an item, which is a key, that can open that, then the hatch stays open for only 45 seconds.
Ooh, but that's cool.
Yeah, but like Ethan was saying, the killer can now close the hatch, and you are SOL.
No doubt.
When the game originally came out, there was a lot of stuff they did. This game has evolved. It's a ghost of its former self.
It's almost been out for 4 years now. So, I mean, you got to think, like, how many games can sustain a 4-year lifespan with such a simple objective whenever you really think about it? And that's something that really shows how much behavior the developer cares about this game, is they have been ever evolving this game and sustaining a decent player base for this long.
Not to mention, it's been stupid successful, too. This is probably one of the most played games on Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox. No matter how much the player base loves to bitch about this game, they love it.
It's part of it, though, man. That's part of the culture. We talked about that in the last podcast. But this seems to play into both the DLC aspect of it, which we'll talk about in a minute, and also the community aspect of it. Because I know this is a big Twitch game, too. I know this is kind of the new version of Black Ops in a lot of ways. Zombies, it kind of probably plays on that. People love horror games, and they love action games. So this just maybe is the perfect combination of it.
It's a fun game to watch. That's why it's so popular on Twitch, is because, like what Call of Duty Zombies was back in the day, I swear we'll go one of these podcasts without me bringing that up.
No, we won't.
No, we won't.
No, we won't.
It's one of those things that you can have someone sitting there playing it, and it's just as fun for the person watching over your shoulder as it is for the person playing the game.
One more thing for the survivors. Last question.
Yeah.
Can you kill the bad guy?
No.
No. Not going to happen.
That's another difference between Dead by and Friday the 13th.
Right, because you can kill Jason. It's difficult. Right. It's very, very difficult. It's very involved. It sounds almost like how the hatch is very involved. But this game, you have no chance, right?
I mean, you could stun them. There's things you can do to slow them down or throw them off, but they're never taken out of the game. Yeah. The only way they leave the game is when the game ends.
So there's another item called the flashlight, like a flashlight is some new invention.
What's this flashlight you speak of?
Flashlight? Is that like a torch?
Yeah, you put a light bulb in there. It's great.
Oh, technology. Fuck that. I'm out. So the flashlight. What about it?
So there's a few different uses for it. Like, one of the things is whenever the killer does pick up the survivor and they have them on their shoulder, taking them to the hook, another survivor can come up and shine a flashlight in their eyes, and it stuns them, and the survivor gets off the shoulder. Yep. You can do some other things, like whenever you drop a pallet on a killer, you can stun them that way. You can stun them whenever they're trying to break a pallet. Or if you're really good with a flashlight, you can stun them while they're walking. But after killers have more than 20 minutes of playtime, they know how to avoid that. But yeah, so flashlight is very useful.
That's about the only weapon they have besides pallets that are spread around every map randomly to kind of combat these killers, at least consistently.
You can hide behind it?
Sure, but it's more used for like running a loop and trying to stun the killer and just slow him down. Essentially, there's these pallets that are leaned up against a wall, and you can throw them down to stop the killer. The killer can't go over them, except for one. They have to actually take the time to sit and smash it.
And that takes about 3 or 4 seconds.
That's precious time right there, man.
Is it that fast-paced?
Yes.
This game really, really comes down to seconds and internet connection.
Yep.
Internet connection, huh? So faster internet, less lag? Is that what you're saying?
Your connection to the killer, because it can get very laggy. Like, say you're jumping through a window and you are clear through this window. You are maybe even 3 feet past the window, and you get injured because he hit you. That could just be really, really bad internet connection. And that's just one of those things where it's gotten to the point now. I mean, I have well over 1,000 hours in Dead by Daylight, probably over 1,500 now at this point. And
we played a lot.
And I got on PC and just started all over.
Well, I love it's like the slight bit of shame in your face, like we played a lot. We really have. But it's fine. You're here doing a podcast. It was all for something.
Hey, look at me now, Mo.
Yeah. Here we go. So But so, what it keeps bringing you back? Seeing is like there is an addictive nature to it. Sounds like, but it sounds like you really, really, truly love this game. I love Super Mario Brothers 2. You can't see, but there's a poster up there because I'm old. But this sounds like this is your jam. Your jelly, your peanut butter, your preserves. What is it about this that really pulled you in?
You know, it's one of those things. Like, it's really hard to explain, but the objective just doesn't get old. Do I get tired of it sometimes? Hell yeah. Yeah, I get angry, I get pissed off at it, I turn it off, I say I'm never playing it again, and I go play Farming Simulator because I can plant soybeans all day and not get angry. But the thing with Dead by Daylight is a week later, I want to go back. There's more objectives to play. There's always something to do. There's always challenges to complete. They put out a new killer and a new survivor every 3 months.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, so
it's like clockwork too.
Yeah.
So they're always pumping something new out.
They pay attention to the game. As much as I complain about behavior, they do one of the best jobs of any developers. And they listen to the community. They listen to the subreddit. Not a whole lot of game developers listen to the subreddit. Like, I got into Master Prestige on Black Ops 3, Modern Warfare, and Black Ops 4. And once I hit Master Prestige, I'm done with that game. I haven't touched those games since the day I hit Master Prestige because the game was the same. It was repetitive. It was just boring to me. It got to the point where like nothing new is coming out. But behavior, because they listen to their community, they always try to keep adding new stuff in. That's what brings me back.
Yeah, you could leave this game for 2 weeks. You come back and they've reworked 12 perks. This killer got new powers. This one got buffed, nerfed, whatever. They're always tweaking this game. Sometimes for better, sometimes for worse, but that it's really just refreshing coming back. And on top of that, there isn't really a game out there that has nailed this sort of gameplay. Like Friday the 13th, it's really similar, but it's not Dead by Daylight.
I want to touch on that also, you saying that sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. That's part of the fun, is trying to adapt to that, because a lot of times they have a huge soft spot for survivors, and I play killer a lot. It's one of those things where like I like to evolve. Okay, now my gameplay, it's 100% different than it was a week ago. And like Ethan was saying, you can go back 2 weeks later and there is 2 hot fixes, there's new patch notes, there's all this stuff. As soon as you open up the game and you're like, oh shoot, now I need to adapt to that.
Ian, you said you like to play as the killer, right? Which I can understand why. I'm getting in that killer mindset myself. What are those games like? Why is that your preferred method of playing? And what is the strategy as a killer? You guys said earlier it changes from killer to killer, but like, what is it about that? And we can kind of get into, I've been holding back on this on purpose, the licensed characters, the licensed killers. Let's definitely talk about that too. But what brought you in to that mindset of being like, I am the predator, they're my prey? What was it?
One of the biggest things for me is I love playing with Ethan and our friend Vernon, but Ethan works a day job. I don't work a day job. I work a night job. I bartend. So I play a lot during the day, so I play by myself a lot. I don't like to rely on 3 other players that I have no idea what their experience is. They're definitely not going to match up with my play style. And whenever you play survivors, I would say a good 80% of the time, it depends on how good your team is rather than how good you are on your ability to escape. If not more than that. I would even say 9%. There is no communication.
Okay, so there's not.
Well, and that was actually something Behavior actually put out. Whenever they first developed the game, they had a chat method like you would see in any Call of Duty lobby or whatever, but they took it out because they decided that this game would be more fun for these people to not have any communication. Now, there is also Survive with Friends, and that is where you can just hop in Discord and you can talk with the 3 other survivors. And I've been playing Killer for a long time, and I can know whenever a team is a Survive with Friends. You can tell
way
how
they play.
Yeah, like me and Ethan, we can play together, and we have similar play styles so that we recognize each other's movements, how we loop a killer, and all this. So you can definitely tell whenever it's just 4 solo survivors who aren't talking to each other, who there's no communication, versus whenever there's 4 squad with friends, or Survivor with friends, rather.
It's the weirdest thing, too. When you're playing Survivor just by yourself, you're not with any friends, you're not talking to any of them, half the time, well, even more than that, they won't save you, they won't help you, they won't do anything. They are in it either for the hatch, or if you power on the gates, just for the convenience. That's it. If you get hooked playing solo, 9 out of 10 games, you are fucked, and you are starting over. Period.
All right. And last thing, you said Discord. What was the story with that? You have to talk on Discord outside of the game. Is that kind of the workaround that you guys have figured out?
Yeah, there is not an in-game chat function.
Yeah, okay. You can use Discord, PlayStation parties, Xbox parties, things like that. Survivors are still always talking.
Does Discord owe Dead by Daylight a lot of money? Is that why Discord popped up and kind of became super popular all of a sudden?
No, Discord I think is just the most popular chat amongst. Oh, yeah.
I tried it. I was like, too old to do it.
You didn't try hard enough.
I did. I was like,
you need to not Billy Mitchell that.
I only have 4 friends. So
this one you need to keep trying.
Maybe I need to give another go. All right, let's get back to Ian, the killer. As the murderer galore supreme, what is that gameplay like? It sounded like you pepped up a little bit. You were like, yeah, I get in there and I fucking Voorhees on these sons of bitches. What's that like?
So it kind of depends on the different killers. Like, there are, how many different killers do you think there are now, Ethan?
Let me count real quick.
18, I think.
17, you were close. No, wait, no. Hang on. 21, I think.
21?
Off the top of your head.
Because he's a nerd.
No, I have the DLC list pulled up right here. I was just forgetting the 3 base killers. So 20. There's 20 total.
Let's get into it, man. There's 20 killers. Who do we got? Like, what is the base killers? And then what are the specialty, downloadable, real horror movie type
You want to just
killers?
fire them off?
Fire them off, man. Give them us all.
All right.
Me or you? You have the list in front of you, so you
I'm kind of curious, Ian, if you can do it, though.
Can you do it from memory?
Yeah, let's see what you can pop off here.
List all of them?
Yeah, we'll have Ethan.
Hang on, let me make sure I got the list pulled up.
No specific order?
No.
Give me just a second.
If you can do the base game ones and then do like the downloadable ones, that'd be great. If you want to try it and have Ethan fill in the differences, just because I want to be, I'm already impressed because I see you counting them, and also I don't know who the specialty killers are, so I'm gonna every time you mention one, I'm gonna be like, oh, what?
Hey everyone, it's just Duck jumping in here real quick to say thank you so much again for checking out the podcast today. If you're enjoying it, head over to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, iTunes, and give We Are Podcast a like. And if you have a chance, check out our social media. All links can be found in the description. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at /We Are Podcast. And with that, back to the podcast.
All right, I'm ready when you are. Let's get it from the top.
So base ones, Trapper, Hillbilly, Wraith, and then Nurse, depending on if you're on PC or console. PC, she is not free. Console, she is. And then after that, no specific order, Spirit, Plague, Ghostface, Demogorgon.
Ghostface?
Ghostface.
He's a Scream.
Yes, Scream.
Oh,
Ghostface.
trust me, I know Scream. Duck went to the theaters to see Scream 3 and Scream 4. Actually, I watched Scream 1 when I was like maybe 8, I'm guessing. No, 1996, I think it came out. I must have been 11. Loved it. We got it on pay-per-view. Blew my mind. I didn't think Ethan's seen it yet, but the original Scream, holy fuck, what a fucking work of art. The second movie can suck my dick. The third movie is terrible, but in a great meta way. The fourth movie, we went to see it, my friend, because I don't know if you've ever seen Scream 4, but it does this weird flip-flop thing where it has like 3 false openings. And my friend turned to me and he goes, did we get fucking high at some point? Because we were so lost. Not a great movie, but the first Scream is just unbelievably good. And Ghostface Killer is one of my favorite, of course. So you can play as the slasher Ghostface in this game. And is there any Hill Valley levels which would be from Scream or nothing like that?
I think it's just the killer.
He didn't actually get his own map.
Yeah,
which is kind of crazy.
Released him standalone.
It's all good. So after that, you said the Demogorgon, which I'm also pumped about, which is the flower vagina face from Stranger Things.
Pussy face.
And yes. And like, what is that like to play as the Demogorgon? And also, are the Stranger Things kids in this game?
Nancy and Steve are.
Ooh, Nancy, Steve. I mean,
let's finish listing off all the killers here.
Keep going.
Okay. So did I get Spirit?
Yes.
Okay, I got Plague. Oni, Bubba, Chainsaw Massacre.
Yep, Cannibal.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Cannibal.
So it does have Texas. It has the Leatherface in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
Oh God! Now I
think you're missing like 4 or 5. Oh wait, 6.
Okay. Doctor.
Yep.
Huntress. She was also one of the younger killers. Like she was one of the first few.
She went free like years ago.
Yeah. Oh God. New one, Deathslinger, and oh no.
Hint. This man has done so well so far. Do you need the hint?
Oh my God! How many do I have left? 2.
You're missing like 4.
Still 4?
I think so. Let me see.
Clown.
Yep, the clown. I think you're down to 2. You're down to 2.
I'm trying to think of maps now.
Oh, 3. My bad.
Stop adding.
Yeah, your math is bad, Ethan. You are not a doctor today, good sir.
My power is I can jump over pallets.
Well, okay, yeah, Legion. I'm sorry.
Give another hint like that. That was great.
Oink oink, motherfucker.
You say oink oink, motherfucker?
Oh, pig, of course. Pig is.
And then last but not least.
Dun, 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 oh, yeah, Michael Myers.
No shit. So that is awesome. So
those are 3 easy ones. I should have had those.
So wait,
just to make sure we got them all. Killers are Trapper, Wraith, Hillbilly, Nurse, the Shape, which is Michael Myers, the Hag, the Doctor, Huntress, the Cannibal, Leatherface, the Nightmare, Freddy Krueger, the Pig.
You did not get Freddy Krueger.
Oh, I missed one more. My bad.
Okay, go ahead.
Spirit, the Legion, the Plague, Ghostface, Demogorgon, Oni, and the Death Slinger.
That's only 17. I only counted 17.
Which one's the? I don't.
So I think you
no, there's
counted
19.
all the DLC. You count all the DLC also, and there was a couple of DLCs that were survivors only, or there was at least one.
No, it says there's 19. Trapper, Wraith, Hillbilly, Nurse, Shape, Hag, Doctor, Huntress, Cannibal, Nightmare, Pig, Clown, Spirit, Legion, Plague, Ghostface, Demogorgon, Oni, Death Slinger. 19.
Dude, Freddy Krueger's in this game.
Yes.
Freddy motherfucking Krueger is in this game.
When he first came out, he was the worst killer, and no one played him.
What? Why?
He was notoriously bad.
Yes.
Why? Explain, please. I want to know why, because that's the one I'm most... that and Michael Myers. I'm pumped for both of those.
Do you remember what his power was to begin with? It's been so long, I forgot.
So survivors had 2 different states with Freddy Krueger. They had being awake and then being in the dream world. In the dream world, did really anything happen in the dream world besides it made it dark?
So killers have a invisible ring around them, and when you're inside this ring, you start hearing a heartbeat, and it gets louder and faster the closer you are to them. That's called the terror radius. So Freddy Krueger, if you were in the dream world, he knew exactly where you are. He could see you if you were not in his terror radius. Which, on paper, again, sounds powerful. If you're in the dream world, like, any action a survivor could take, it takes, I think, like, twice as long, and it's totally detrimental. You want to get out of the dream world as fast as you possibly can.
But to wake up, all you have to do is just miss a skill check or have someone else wake you up.
Yeah. Blow up a generator, it makes noise, he sees it, but you're out of the dream world. This or that. It was really, really shitty. And they reworked him now to where I think isn't every survivor like on a timer where they're constantly going in the dream world, and he can set traps and stuff. And Freddy's a badass now. He can teleport across the map.
I want to say it's 60 seconds is like that timer from like the second you wake up until you get put back in the dream world again.
Damn,
he's a badass now.
And that's a lot of time from what you're telling me. This game's pretty fast paced. So wow. How about Michael Myers? What does he come with?
Evil Within. So he starts out with no terror radius. He stalks from a distance and builds power. He'll level up, be like your ordinary killer, move at a regular speed, stab at a regular distance, normal terror radius. But then he goes to Evil Within 3. And he can one-hit down survivors. His terror radius is out the ass. He's fast as fuck. He's a force not to be reckoned with.
There's a couple different ways to play Michael, actually. There is this, like, big brute. You go in tier 3 and just obliterate people. But there's also a method of, there's something called, oh gosh, what's the attachment called? Is it a Scratched Mirror?
Scratched Mirror Mikey.
Yeah, so with Scratched Mirror Mikey, what you can do is you have a very, very low terror radius. Like, I'd say within a meter or two. Crazy, crazy low. He has to be breathing
down your neck for you to hear him.
Right. And so what you can do is you can, whenever he's stalking, that's how he gains up his power up. When he's stalking, you can see the aura of killers within 16 meters. And what you can do is you can go in and you can grab these survivors that are working on a generator. You can just grab them and put them on your shoulder. No chase, nothing. Just grab them. They're done.
Just
instant
hook right there.
If a team of survivors are good, awful way to play. Like, a good team of survivors can just counter that super easily. But if you're playing against not as good survivors, then it's super fun to do.
Dude, you could freak some motherfuckers out doing that. Like, I have he can testify to this. I have just fucking screamed and lost my shit because a Mikey will around the corner, pick me up, or fucking jab me out of nowhere, and it's just, dude, it's terrifying.
That's really the only time that I get scared now on Dead by Daylight is like getting gen grabbed by killers. There's a couple killers that can do that. Mikey, Ghostface, Spirit, Wraith, and that's pretty much it, right? Am I missing
Nurse, I guess, but
I've seen very few, but it's happened.
And these guys take you to the hooks also, right? Regardless who the killer is.
Yeah,
every single killer. Yeah.
Taken to the hook. And then, what would you say the sacrifice, what does that mean at the end of the level? What are they sacrificing to?
Like we were saying, that basically the entity takes them up into the sky. You can see the aura of a survivor being sucked up to the sky.
Okay.
And they are removed from the game permanently.
And then on the bottom left, it shows all the survivors' names and it just shows a skull crossed out.
Dead.
So is there anything, before I get into some questions I have?
I would say probably the perks, honestly. Every killer and survivor has 3 perks that are unique to them until you level them up to level 40. So I think it's level 30, 35,
30,
and 40.
35, 40.
Ooh,
yeah.
So you go into the game with your individual killer that isn't leveled up. So every time you go into a map against people, you are playing to get better.
Kind of.
How you level up a killer, or survivor actually for that matter, is there's something called blood points. That is the currency of this video game. Some games have XP. Dead by Daylight has, and there is actually another separate XP system, but that's not really important. So blood points, what you can do is then you go into a skill tree and you level up your killers and survivors that way. You can level it up and you can collect items, offerings, item add-ons, and perks. Perks that come in for the first, I'd say, 20 levels, you only get one perk per blood tree. And then whenever you hit level 50, which is your max, you get 4 that you get to select from. And then whenever you select one, then the entity starts eating up these perks. Or starts eating up these items in the blood tree. And I know that's really, really confusing and it's really hard to explain, but once you see it, it's super simple to understand.
And what really makes this game stand out as well is, let's say you're playing Survivor, you have this character that's completely leveled up, you got your perks that you already won on it, whatever, you can go in and play that all day. And you don't have to put those blood points you earned from those games into that character. You could switch over to Killer and put it into Michael Myers, who you haven't touched yet, and start leveling him up so you can get whatever perks you want when you finally want to play him.
Now, does this help with the addictive nature of this game, that having that experience, that leveling? It sounded like it to me. Yeah,
this is the addictive nature of that game.
It's very grinding-ish, but in a good way. So when you jump into a match, let's say we jump into a match right now, I just started playing the game. I'm not going to have any good characters to play with, but hopefully Ethan has a great one, and hopefully your killer isn't as leveled up as it could be, or is that a part of it? Like, it doesn't actually put you with like the same levels that you have already. You're just thrown in.
Well,
so this is another issue that me and Ethan can talk about, and we have talked about a lot, is it's called the ranking system. So whenever you first start into the game, you are ranked 20. You are just a brown ranked 20. And the better you get, what you do is it's called pipping up. And like for going from rank 20 to rank 9, it takes, 3 pips? 3 pips, and then it just goes down from there, and then you go 20, and then you go to 19, 18, and you go all the way down to 1.
1 meaning you're a total badass at this game.
And did you say these are color-coded?
Yes.
Yeah, so rank 1 through 4, that is called the red ranks. And I don't want to toot my own horn, but that's where I hover around, and Survivor is I can hover around the red ranks pretty easily. And then rank, say, was it 5 to 7? Is purple.
5 to 8, I think. Or 5 to 7, 8, something in there.
I don't know. And then 8 to 10 is green, and then it goes yellow, brown.
Yellow, brown. Yeah, so
am I missing?
You can think of them as kind of like tiers of play. Typically, if you're in the brown ranks, then you have the easier games. People are supposed to not be as leveled up. Red ranks, you need to be an absolute badass or you're getting sent back down to the bottom of the chain.
I couldn't help but to think when you guys said it, there's a racial component to it because the token black character always dies in a horror movie. So when you're like the not great character is brown rank, I was like, that's a little racist, isn't it? I'm still thinking there might be something to that. I'm not going to take that back. But anyhow.
They're Canadian. Don't you know Canadians can't be racist?
Sir, you are correct. Yes, never mind, I take it back. You are 100% right about that. It's literally impossible. It's built into their constitution.
Yeah.
So,
knew what he was talking about.
So, what was your issues with the ranking, though? What was...
shit.
So, there is a couple issues with the ranking. So, I guess that's two different ways of saying it. What a survivor can do is, let's say I get to the red ranks. I'm doing super hard games, like I am never surviving, whatever. What I can do is I can do something called depipping. Once you get to rank 1, you're not at rank 1 for the rest of the... So it resets every month also, by the way. Not all the way back to 20, but it resets like rank 1 goes back to like 9 or 10 or something like that.
It's just to give players something to do once they hit the max. It resets and kind of refreshes the matchmaking pool for a month or whatever it is.
That's another thing that like we're talking about, like keeps bringing us back, is there is always that challenge. Oh, I'm not a red rank anymore. I want to try to get back to that.
Yep.
But anyways, so a survivor can depip and they can go all the way back up to rank 20 and be playing with people who they just barely put in the Steam keys and they're just popping their Dead by Daylight cherry. Then this person who has 3,000 hours can go in and just destroy them. This happened to me a lot whenever I first started playing with Ethan, is I was just getting torn up. I mean, I was just sucking so bad. It turned me off of the game. Like, I mean, Ethan, how long did it take for me to actually get into it?
So I started playing this game first. It took me at least a couple months of going, hey, come on, let's just try one more game, of getting him in, because the bar of entry is so high in this game. You're going to lose a lot more up front before you can actually get to where you can play, because of these people that they'll just go in, lose 10 games in a row purposefully, and get dropped down so it's easier for them. Because they want to be in those lobbies where they can get those quick, easy kills, 4 survivors dead, or maybe, those baby killers that don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to defend generators. They don't know how to stop survivor flashlights. They want easier games because the shit up at the top, it's so damn difficult. And with the current ranking system, there's really no way to get around that. It's just, you get what you get, and half the games you play are going to be super damn easy or ridiculously fucking hard. There really isn't hardly a middle ground.
And they've tried to fix this, and the biggest fix that they had, so the easiest way for a survivor to depip is for them to join a game and immediately leave. They go down 2 pips, and then they can just start another game up. So what they did was they put in a disconnecting penalty of, how long is it? It's like a few minutes before you can find another game. And then if you do it again, then it's like even longer and longer. That's something that I really do appreciate, like how Same Behavior always is active and they listen to the community. That's something that I appreciate that they did. But yeah, there are still easy ways to get around that. You can just not do good. Like you can just screw over your teammates. You could just kind of run around and dick around and die within the first 2 minutes, and you're down 2 pips. And that's one of the most annoying things. So at the end of the game, you can see like all the other survivors and the killer's perks, their rank, their name, everything. And then whenever you see like the killer is like a rank 20 with 1 perk, and then you have 4 survivors that are like have a full perk loadout, items and everything, and they're like a rank 19, and you click on their profile and they have 1,300 game hours. And that's one of the most toxic things in this game, I think.
It's bad. It's really bad.
It can be bad, yeah.
But, I mean, I wouldn't let that dissuade you from trying to play the game.
Oh, yeah.
It's fucking good. Like, it's fun to play, especially if you have a group of friends. Getting 3 of your other buddies together, squatting up and trying to survive, whatever fucking horror movie y'all are creating together. It's so much fun.
It's so funny that you guys mentioned, though, the getting into it and how difficult it is, because we played Friday the 13th, and I will never play that game with the sound on again because those kids were so mean. They were we were Jason, and they're just standing around us going like, you don't even know how to play. It's bullshit. I was just like, and I literally felt bullied. I was back in high school again. I was like, we don't know how to play. It's dumb. And it was me, Jake, and Hobby, and we really, for a second, like, us, we're all pretty confident, and we were just we're like, oh God, they're beating us up. They're picking on Jason. All right. I have a couple questions, and if we have anything else. My first question is, will they ever do an enhancement where there's 2 killers in the arena? And would that change the gameplay at all?
So there's actually a bug just recently where you could spawn in with 2 killers. That was kind of hilarious.
You can get up to 4, I think.
What? So are they played individually, like me, you, and Ian could be?
It was not intentional by behavior. That was a huge bug that only lasted maybe, 2 days?
It was bad.
It was kind of funny. It was all over the subreddit whenever people were having that issue. People were posting like videos of them just getting absolutely bent by 4 killers at a time.
But that would be interesting if it wasn't a bug. What if they threw this into the game once in a while as a perk where you could double down on the killer and have like a twin killer situation, especially the Scream aspect. I know you guys haven't seen Scream, so don't spoil it because you haven't watched it. You're not going to watch it. There's 2. There are 2 killers in the first movie.
Oh, no, don't spoil a 25-year-old movie.
But there's 2 killers. Wouldn't that be...
I was going to watch that tomorrow.
Wouldn't it
Next
be
you're going to
great?
tell me the ending of Titanic.
I've never seen that shit. I'm a man. Watch it all the time. It is good.
So good.
Yeah, so, but that's the thing. What if they did implement that in some way? Or what I was thinking, what if they did this? What if they did a Freddy versus Jason? What if they did a Predators versus Aliens? What if they allowed the people in the room just to be there as secondary, and the killer's main goal is to go against each other, and they have to level up before they can do so. So by killing each of the survivors, they actually gain power. Meanwhile, the survivors are trying to take them out, and it can happen, but it makes it twice as hard. Would that intrigue you guys?
I think that'd be interesting, but with the way that their game is right now, I just don't know how they implement the killer versus killer thing.
Got to get them bigger levels, too.
Well, what I'd imagine they do is probably something along the lines of what Destiny did for their Gambit game mode, is where you have 2 separate lobbies going on at once, but what happens in one lobby over here affects the other game. Like maybe more pallets would spawn if the killer gets a hook, or maybe this killer can, I don't know, maybe when he sacrifices a survivor, the survivor goes over and fucks with the other killer or something on the other. There's a lot of ways they could do it.
Becomes one of his minions, tag team style. Would that intrigue you guys to see that as an enhancement in this game, or come along eventually? Do you think it would better it, or does that just sound like too much?
So there's been a lot of discussion. Will Dead by Daylight ever change their game? They will always continue having like this 4v1 playstyle, but there's been a lot of discussion on like, do we think that behavior will want to try to implement something different? And I think where they're kind of at right now is the 4v1 playstyle. It is ever evolving. They can always change something. They're always adding new killers. They're always adding new perks, new survivors, everything. So I think how they see it is they're like, we don't want to change anything. We are continuously working on this. We don't want to bite off more than we can chew. We don't want to try to do what Treyarch did with Blackout and Bondo Pussy, bite off more than he can chew and overpromise and underdeliver. And so I think what they're doing is they are maintaining their level right now, and I think they are doing an amazing job at that, and they don't need to do more than that. And if they did, I think they could just ruin the game that they have now, and then they would lose this loyal fan base that has continued to play over the past 4 years.
They've got other stuff they need to focus on anyways. Like, they're still trying to implement dedicated servers for these games, and it desperately needs it. It really does, because like he mentioned earlier, the fucking connectivity issues are a really big problem for a lot of these games. You get someone that's living out in the boonies or doesn't have the best internet connection.
Who might be an actual killer, just so you know. I lived out there for a while. You never know. They do need to fix some of these bugs. With that said, who do you guys want to see as DLC for this game? What famous horror characters, or do you have characters that you've created in your mind that you think would be cool that you would like to see put in this game?
Man, I would love to see the fucking Xenomorph in this.
I already said it, man. Alien versus Predator style. I'm telling you. But yes, it just seems like it makes sense to put the alien in it and do the spaceship. Put them up there. Whatever it is, Nebuchadnezzar. I don't think that's what it's called. But do the spaceship. Do the actual, like, creepy hallways, the vents. And comes probably from our love of Metroid that we're saying this too. But that would be so fucking cool to see the Xenomorph. So what would you want to see with that?
Well, another thing we never mentioned was there's a offering that you can burn. It's a one-time use thing that both survivors and killers have. Killers have one that's specific to them called a Mori, a memento Mori. And there's different levels of that, but essentially what it does is you can, after you meet certain conditions, instead of having to sacrifice a survivor, you can outright kill them, just on the spot, brutal, bloody fashion. Every killer has their own unique Mori. Like Michael Myers, he'll lift them up by their fucking neck and just gut them right there. And you're seeing all this from either the survivor or killer's point of view.
That is
it's
great.
Fucking awesome.
Chainsaw Massacre, he stands them up on his knees and just runs a chainsaw through their body.
Ah, that's so
it's
good.
Like every killer has an amazing one, and that's something that's another thing
is one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's a good one. That's another thing we haven't talked about is the creativity of the behavior art team to be able to make all these.
Dude, these animations are incredible.
And that's
They're so detailed.
Fatality. Oh, that's so cool. I definitely want to. I'm not going to say I want to play yet. So the killers you want to do Xenomorph? Anyone else that you would like to see come in?
I mean, if they could make him work, I think getting a little Child's Play representation. Boom!
I wrote that down, baby. Chucky. We got to get us some Chucky. Absolutely. That would be so interesting, and it brings a new gameplay aspect too because he's little. He's gonna be easier to hide. That's very intriguing. And
then, like, really, the only other big one that I would say absolutely needs to be in this game. Well, okay, there's a bunch, but if I only had to pick 3, the last one I would want to see that would make it into this game would be Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
But the odds of that are not very good because he has his own horror game right now. But he would fit in so good into Dead by Daylight.
And no one's playing that game. Fuck that game.
No.
Bring him over. Trust me, it helps. And then you got a bunch of movies you can resell and shit like that. Because that definitely, let's be honest, they're introducing these killers to a new generation. That's huge.
They're introducing Ash versus Evil Dead to a new generation. He is a playable survivor.
Oh my God! How did you save that? I'm coming right now. Oh, are you kidding me? You can get some fucking Bruce Campbell action in this game?
Fully voiced by Bruce Campbell, looks like him. Fucking, well, he doesn't have the chainsaw hand, but the robot hand and everything. It's
fucking amazing. It's versus Army of Darkness. Bruce Campbell, yes.
Nope, TV show.
TV show. I'm fine with that. I like the TV show too, man. Anything to do with Ash Williams is go, baby.
I've never heard of Ash Williams. Like, I've never heard of him. Like, I've heard of all these other killers, but like, I'm being introduced to it and what they did, and now I'm getting interested. Like, I have gone and I watched every Michael Myers movie because of Dead by Daylight. For me, like, it's not only am I paying the $5 to buy the killer and Dead by Daylight gets their cut and the studio gets their cut or whatever, but now I am going out and I rented all those movies. So they made another, say, $20 just off of me. So, like, just imagine how many other people there are and how many other killers. You can go watch all the Nightmare on Elm Streets. You go watch all the Screams, like you were saying, the Texas Chainsaw Massacres, Michael Myers, all these licensed killers.
Yep.
Yeah, Ash vs. Evil Dead.
We got to get you into Evil Dead, Ian. We got to get you. Because me and Ethan watched that shit on a stormy night, and I introduced him to it, man. You got to be corrupted.
It's a great
You got to come over with us, man. You're already being corrupted. I'm so excited. This is pure
it'll be so worth
culture.
the 3-hour drive.
Oh, we'll figure it out. Zoom meeting. We can't. I don't see Ethan either. It's fine. He lives 2 feet away. Like
Discord.
But
the oddball killer pick, though, which I know will never become a thing, I would love the fucking monster from Attack the Block to be in this thing.
Yeah, baby. Oh,
like, it's glowing blue mouth and everything.
That'd be badass. That's a deep cut, man, but that would be cool as shit. How about you, Ian? Who would you like to see?
I'm going to go kind of a different route than Ethan is, because I think the most scariest killers are the most human ones. So, like, I think a genuine serial killer that has actually existed would be interesting. Say the BTK killer, Ted Bundy, something like that. I think they would be more scary. See, like, I don't know how you would do that, because, like, with Ted Bundy, you can't, like, have a broken down Volkswagen Beetle and try to pick people up. But, like, I don't know, just something along that nature, rather.
You could do one and get away with it, and only one. You could do the Zodiac Killer. That is it, because they never caught him, and therefore it would be less glorification. And I was going to ask you guys about that.
They caught him. He's a Texas senator.
We knew it, Cruz. We knew it. We knew it was you.
Cruz,
you bastard.
I'm going to throw out mine real quick, and then I want to talk about that, though. Pennywise the Clown. I think that would be great. Definitely, but you already said there's a clown in there, so maybe not needed. The last one,
it's a different kind of clown.
Yeah,
Pennywise could bring such a new element to the game that I think it would be incredibly interesting and actually a viable killer.
And I mean,
there's that mental fear, that feeding on fear kind of mentality.
Right. I think it would be really cool just to see that too. The last one, and this is going to be such a random thing, classic Universal monsters: Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman. That would be cool, and then throw the levels in black and white. I've never even seen this game, and I want to do that. I think that would be
actually a really good idea. Have like, or you know what? Some kind of, I know they wouldn't do this because it'd be hard as fuck to balance, but like some kind of like shapeshifter that takes the form of those classic monsters.
Yeah.
And have him and the map be kind of in black and white. You could have the creature from the Black Lagoon, the fucking ooze, the thing.
Yeah, that would be cool as shit.
Dracula, all those things. Frankenstein.
I mean, if you get Bela Lugosi Dracula and Boris Karloff fucking Frankenstein, dude, Lon Chaney Jr. Wolfman, I love those classic universe monsters. I think that'd be really cool. And then you bring in the old guy like me. Last one. I did have one more, and then we're going to talk about that. Bloody Pac-Man, because the way you guys are talking about this game, it reminded me of a weird Pac-Man maze. So you make like a demonic, deformed-looking Pac-Man, and then you have the characters in like pink and blue and red as the Pac-Man ghost, and then you hear wooka wooka wooka. I think it would be awesome. Let's talk about the idea of a controversy. Has there been any controversy over this game? Have there been any parent groups that have come out and called it a murder simulator? Anything like that?
So, not really. I mean, whenever I think of controversial games, I think of games like Grand Theft Auto. I think of, kind of like what I was saying, I think games that are more realistic are more scarier. And I don't think a lot of people view this as like a realistic game. I don't know. That's actually interesting. I don't think there's really any major controversies that Dead by Daylight sparked. I mean, is there, Ethan, that you can think of?
None that I know off the top of my head, but it wouldn't surprise me, honestly, because you are literally filling the shoes of a murdering psychopath or monster, and you are killing people straight up.
Maybe that's why they're waiting to do a real-life killer. That would be so cool, but you want to talk about some controversy. That would definitely bring that in. But if this game was released in the 90s, oh my God, no, it wouldn't happen. You know, Manhunt, I don't know if you guys remember this game. It was a PS2 game that came out where you're basically thrown in an arena and you have to kill each other for a game show audience. It's kind of like a precursor to The Purge in a lot of ways, but it was televised. This game was banned in Australia. This was maybe 15, 20 years ago this game came out, and now we've got this game, which there's no controversy whatsoever, which is good because that means we can all enjoy it. But at the same time, I wouldn't be shocked if some Christian mothers heard about this, and then next week it's on Fox News. So,
well, I mean, there's so many other games that people are losing their shit over. It's kind of weird. You'll hear one of two controversies, either stuff that's just so radical, so out there, and so gruesome, and then censorship. Those are really the two things that people lose their shit over. And I'm sure when this game came out 4 years ago, there was some sort of controversy or people going like, I really don't want my kid playing that. But again, that's why the ESRB exists. That's why Mortal Kombat and all those other games years and years ago were put through the grinder because fucking parents lost their shit. That's why ESRB is a thing. This is why this game is rated M. Your kid who is 12 should not be playing a game that has blood, gore, violence, and fucking sacrilegious shit like this.
But to be fair, if he is, he's the coolest kid. Just letting you know.
He's definitely the coolest kid in fourth grade.
All right, guys. Last question I have. Is the game scary?
Kind of like what I said earlier. Like, I only get scared on the gen grabbing killers. Like, every now and then there is, like, times where I freak out. But it's one of those things, once I realize who the killer is and what he can do, it's not about that anymore. Like, it's not scary for me anymore. I don't play this game to be scared, though. I play it because there's a constant strategy to it. There's an ever-evolving strategy that you have to maintain. And if you don't maintain a good strategy, then you're not going to keep up. And you're going to fall behind and you're going to be playing with the people who just started the game. To me, it's not about it being a horror game anymore. It's really just about the strategy of it. And that's what I love about it.
Yeah, after you hit a certain point, I think it's like a couple weeks of playing it and really starting to figure out what you're doing. The thrill of someone chasing you, your heart racing, that panic of someone being behind you and being hunted and stuff like that kind of fades. And there's definitely situations where you get jump scared, like Ian was saying, but it shifts more from horrifying to, okay, this is a game. But, I mean, even then, new killers, fucking Demogorgon still scares the shit out of me. And, I mean, maybe that's because I haven't played enough games against him, but this game, it can scare the living shit out of you.
Do you think if you guys were dropped into a horror movie right now, you would survive better because you've played this? Ian and Ethan are both shaking their head no.
I wouldn't trust my teammates enough, except maybe this guy.
That was so sweet.
Well, I mean, with that said, go ahead.
Ian, there's a little thing we do here on We Are Bagu. Every game we review, we give a rating. And this rating is from S being the best all the way to an E being total dog shit.
We use Sonic the Hedgehog ranking.
So it's S, A, B, C, D, E. Where does Dead by Daylight rank for you? S being the best, E being bottom of the barrel.
God, that is so. You could ask me that question a week apart, and I could have different answers. Like right now, I think it is at a or a B. There was a time where I would say an S all the way. But right now, I think it's an A or a B. I would actually lean more towards an A. And one of the things that I think goes into that rating is it's not the current gameplay, but it's the developer's will to constantly evolve the game. And that's something that I think that a lot of people should consider whenever they think about a game. A developer that doesn't see the end of their job whenever the game hits the shelves, I think that's the best kind of developer. Whenever a game drops and they're just like, all right, there it is. We're done. Goodbye. That's whenever I think a developer dies. And that's what Behavior has done for Dead by Daylight that I absolutely love, is the opposite of that. And they just constantly evolve the game.
So A rank, B rank, possibly. Ethan.
High B, mid A.
I'm sitting at an A rank. I love this game. I hate this game. It's fun. It's horrible. I go through phases on and off of playing this game nonstop to not touching it for a couple months. But it's always a game that I can come back to. It's always something new. There's new killers, new survivors. Perks have changed. Perks are useless. Perks are suddenly useful. New maps. Like, there's always something new to do. And seeing this game evolve over 4 years is fucking incredible. Especially these licensed killers that are coming out. I'm excited to see what they're going to come out with next. Because as the game gains more popularity, there's going to be more of these licensed killers that are going to be allowed to enter these arenas and we'll be able to go up against or play as. And it's just fucking awesome. So that is an A rank for me. Not quite S, because it's not quite stable.
But stable is the operative word there.
Yeah, A rank.
And on top of that, what I like you said, more killers, but also bring more survivors in. Bring some of those classics in. Give us Nancy, Sydney from the Scare movies. Give us the Final Girls is what they call them. Give us these heroes and let us play as them. That sounds great. And with that said, also, let Duck play this game. I am sold. I want to play this. Like, you guys have talked me into it. So I'm going to have to buy this. I'm going to have to join some games. I'm going to have to be sucky at this for a while.
Another thing that's great is it's constantly on sale. Right now it's on Humble Bundle for $7.99.
Boom! Sold.
Yeah.
Guess what I'm going to buy?
DLC goes on sale all the fucking time. You can get most of these killers for just a couple bucks each.
That fucking rocks, dude. I can't wait to play this game with you guys. But yeah, I say let's turn off the lights. Let's crank up the sound. Let's get in this game. Let's have a good time. With that said, we appreciate you listening. This has been Duck. I've been here with
Ethan
and our special guest, Ian. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Thank you.
Dude, thanks for coming out.
Oh, real quick, though. Real quick. I always forget, but I never forget. Something very important. Ethan, you know this. Ian,
I do.
Not.
Ian, do you know?
I need you to know something. We appreciate you being on the show, but you got to know this.
You gotta. You just gotta.
You ain't Billy Mitchell, bitch. So stop trying.
Just stop. You're not Billy Mitchell. Just stop.
You look so sad. All right, you can be our new Billy Mitchell. Ian, you are Billy Mitchell. You're in.
Cool.
You're Billy Mitchell.
It's that easy.
The mullet! Oh, put Billy Mitchell in the game. I'm so fucking down, dude. Put Billy Mitchell in Dead by Daylight.
As a killer or survivor?
Doesn't matter. Could be either. As a survivor, he beats Pac-Man. As a killer, the mullet come and get you. I don't even give a shit.
Mullet whip.
I am so pro Billy Mitchell. I'm going to start a hashtag for that shit.
And there it is. Thank you again, Ian, for joining us today. Thank you for selling me on Dead by Daylight. We really do appreciate you checking out the podcast today. If you've enjoyed it, head over to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, or iTunes, and give We Are Podcast a like. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, you're going to love the other ones here on the We Are Podcast Network. We have We Are Error, where we talk movies, entertainment, whatever the fuck we want to talk about. That's me, that's Jake, that's Javi. We're breaking down pop culture, and we're having so much fun. Heroes, Gyros, a Dungeons and Distractions side quest. That's me and the boys. We're playing some D&D, and you gotta go to the very beginning. You've gotta listen to these crazy characters and their adventures so far. And finally, I hate being sober. Personal stories from epic people. I'm going to sit down with some of my favorite people on the planet, and we're going to talk about their trials and tribulations, and we're just going to talk about their life. Don't forget to head on over to our social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at /WeArePodcast. And if you've enjoyed the podcast today, please share with your friends. That's the only way we can grow this podcast network. But I got to remind you something. I need you to never forget this. My friends, you ain't Billy Mitchell, bitch. So you gotta stop trying. Just stop. We'll see you next time.